safe and interesting times. Today's stories. Toronto's homeless at a face-off with city officials. Opening of bicycle and car vaccination clinic in Quebec. Bitcoin farm in Quebec unveiled. Canada-U.S. border remains closed for the foreseeable future. Quebec's summer 2021 reopening plan. Ministers arrive for Arctic Council meeting. Hello everyone, you're watching Eagle News Canada. I am Cara Cabuso Pascual reporting from St. John, New Brunswick, bringing you stories from across the globe. Toronto's homeless at a face-off with city officials. Eagle News correspondent Yolanda Aspiras with the report.
Toronto's homeless encampment residents and city officials face off Wednesday as Toronto police officers clear home-built shelters at Lamport Stadium. This move comes after the city released notices of trespassing for the people living in tents outside the said stadium last week. According to the city's warning, these people could be forcibly removed and pay a $10,000 fine if they do not heed this warning. According to the City of Toronto, encampments are not safe and legal, and that living outside has a significant negative impact on people's overall health and well-being. However, since the beginning of the pandemic last year, there has been an increase in the number and size of encampments found across the city. According to Encampment Support Network Toronto, one of the main reasons why there is an encampment outside Lamport Stadium is that it is adjacent to the St. Felix Respite, where there is access to food and shower facilities, and that Toronto's shelter system is full. The city has provided some immediate support to those living outside, such as immediate access to safe inside spaces, COVID-19 education, screening and referrals, help with accessing ID, healthcare including mental health and harm reduction supports, help developing a housing plan, water and help accessing nearby meal programs or food banks, and blankets and sleeping bags. On Wednesday, residents and supporters of the homeless community have stood their ground and refused to leave their encampments as dozens of police officers have enforced the clearing of Lamport Stadium. According to supporters of the encampments, not everyone has accepted an indoor space in the shelter system. Will they be criminalized? They also claim that this is a gross abuse of unhoused people. They are rights holders and the City of Toronto is legally obligated to uphold their rights. During his press conference Wednesday, Toronto Mayor John Tory affirms that encampments are illegal, unsafe, and unhealthy.
And so there does come a time when we have to take some action in this regard and establish that we cannot have people living continuously in unsafe, unhealthy, and illegal circumstances in our public parks. And I will say that I find it profoundly unacceptable. There were by best estimates, about 15 people resident in the encampment at Lamport Stadium when the officials arrived there after plenty of notice to try to clear that encampment. Some of them had agreed to accept indoor housing, but there then seemed to be many more people materialized there, and they engaged in activities that resulted in the assaulting of police officers, the throwing of bottles and rocks, and I find this unacceptable in our city. Unacceptable. I don't know who the people were exactly, but it was just not acceptable.
In Toronto, Yolanda Aspiras, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Provincial health authorities in Quebec announced a bicycle and vaccination clinic will open in Montreal. Eagle News correspondent Andre Viljois with the details.
The Minister of Health and Social Services, Christian Dubé, today announced that a bicycle car vaccination clinic will open its doors at the Gilles Villeneuve Circuit for 3 consecutive weekends from May 29. The minister was accompanied for the occasion by the Mayor of Montreal, Valérie Plante, the President and CEO of Integrated University of Health and Social Services Center of Centre Sud of Montreal, Sonia Bélanger, and the President of the Formula One Grand Prix of Canada, François Dumontier. The initiative is the result of collaborations between various partners, namely the CCSMTL, the Formula One Grand Prix of Canada, and the Société du Parc Jean Drapeau. This site will open to the door to the public on the weekend of May 29th and 30th, June 5th and 6th, and June 12th and 13th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The first will be devoted to cyclists by appointment or without appointment. For the walk-in, 500 doses will be available while supply lasts. The following 2 weekends will be in-car service by appointments only. Those interested in making the appointment can register as of Friday, May 21st on the Quebec.ca Vaccin COVID portal. They can come alone or with their family bubble. The site will be signposted. Volunteers will be on site to guide people quickly and safe environment. This is André Lajoie in Ottawa, Canada. We live in an interesting time.
A Bitcoin farm has been unveiled in Quebec.
Welcome to the modern day of gold rush. Instead of pickaxes, think computers. Instead of gold bars, think Bitcoin. In this warehouse an hour outside of Montreal, thousands of computers are generating Bitcoin. The cryptocurrency is based on blockchain technology, a digital ledger that verifies transactions without going through a central authority like a bank.
Our machines are used to calculate transactions on the Bitcoin network, which allows us to decentralize the network, make the network more secure.
In exchange for the calculating power of their computers, these modern-day miners earn a small amount of Bitcoin. And more computers mean more money. Bitfarms has hauled in $5 million in profits in just 2 months. A deluge of miners have jumped the bandwagon, lured by Quebec's cheap electricity and below-average temperatures required to keep all the computers from overheating. This has proven a challenge for the state corporation that manages electricity in the province. Since the Bitcoin craze took off in 2017, Hydro-Quebec Public Utility has received new electric requests equaling the consumption of 83% of Quebec's households.
Since last September, we have received an incredible volume of projects from the cryptocurrency sector, mainly originating from Asia and China. We're talking about hundreds of projects. This is a much higher volume, extremely high, which makes it necessary to consider what means could be put in to regulate this sector.
Hydro-Quebec has halted all new projects to better understand the technology and its economic impact. Banks, for example, could use blockchain technology to remove intermediaries in their operations.
If blockchain can reduce costs, reduce the amount of labor required for these operations, reduce transaction costs, then it's obviously a good thing for the banking sector.
Pierre-Luc Quimpe, president of Bitfarms, made his fortune starting a web hosting and cloud service business at the age of 14. He started Bitfarms in 2017 after mining Bitcoin at home. Today, the Quebec company claims to be North America's leader in cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Their company is listed in New York and Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. In Montreal, Marjorie Quintos, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
After 15 months, the Canada-U.S. border remains closed for the foreseeable future. Eagle News correspondent Thomas I. Likeness files this report.
After 15 months, there's still no indication when the land borders between Canada and the United States will be reopened to non-essential traffic. Now, the borders were closed March 21st of last year, and that closure has been extended monthly ever since. June 21st is the new deadline for the closure to end, but there's no indication that the closure will be reversed. The latest word from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is we're just not ready to put out the welcome mat for recreational travelers.
We continue to work very closely with American authorities and with Canadian experts on how we can move forward in a way that is safe for Canadians. We know that we are not yet out of this third wave. We know that there are still real concerns around transmission of the virus, but we will continue to work with our partners and hopefully get to a better place when the time is appropriate.
How will we know when that will be? What are we waiting on, Mr. Prime Minister?
We're all eager to get back to normal, but we know that before we get back to normal, cases need to be under control, and over 75% of people need to be vaccinated for us to start loosening things in Canada. And we'll see what framework we apply to ensure that we're keeping Canadians safe, even as we look to eventually changing the restrictions and the posture at the border.
A bit of a word salad there. Bottom line, before recreational travelers will be allowed to cross by land into Canada, 3/4 of our population will have to be vaccinated, and case counts will have to drop dramatically. Trudeau says his government is continuing talks with American officials. There has been pressure on both sides of the border to consider at least a partial reopening. But so far, the government has yet to bite on that idea. If we stick to Trudeau's suggestion that 75% of the population has to be vaccinated, it will likely be the fall before non-essential traffic between the two countries can freely flow. Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Quebec announces its COVID-19 reopening plan as the province begins to lift restrictions. Eagle News correspondent Stacey Diocampo reports.
The Quebecers are rejoicing as the curfew is ending and things will gradually reopen this summer. According to Premier François Legault, several reopenings will happen throughout summer as more and more of us get vaccinated. So many actions are already planned for these coming months, as claimed by the Premier. By May 31st, all high school students are in school full-time. Restaurants can reopen for indoor dining, although only for a maximum of 2 adults from different households at each table. Gyms can also reopen. By June 14th and 25th, 2 different households can gather indoors and bars can reopen. Plus, small parties can take place indoors with up to 10 people from 3 separate households. Summer camps and outdoor festivals will also be able to open. Quebecers who are fully vaccinated can visit each other indoors without wearing masks or physically distancing themselves by that date. Legault's plan ends in August with a possible lifting of the mask mandate in most situations. If 75% of people over the age of 12 are fully vaccinated with 2 doses. University and college students will also be able to return normally to in-person classes at that point. Legault's plan came the day he reported that 75% of Quebec adults had received at least 1 dose of vaccine or had an appointment to get one. I can't tell you how proud I am of Quebecers. Today we see that there is hope. We can start to see each other again, Legault said. In Montreal, Stacey Diocampo will live in interesting times.
Canada's inflation rate has risen at the fastest pace in a decade. Here's Eagle News correspondent Vanessa Condi with more.
Canada's inflation rate has risen at the fastest pace in a decade. It has outpaced the estimates. Statistics Canada says the Consumer Price Index, CPI, was up 3.4% from a year earlier. Higher gasoline prices mainly fueled the increase in inflation. It rose by 62.5% compared to April 20, when the price plunged in the early days of the pandemic. Also, the rise in gasoline prices was partly due to the maintenance of production cuts by OPEC+ countries, which are countries from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries Plus, amid increased demand. Shelter prices were up 3.2% year over year in April, after rising 2.4% from the previous month. Higher building costs and demand for single-family homes contributed to an increase in prices for newly built homes. On the other hand, year over year, food prices rose at a slower pace in April than in March. Telephone services also fell 13% year over year, which is partially due to wireless service providers offering bonus data promotions. Experts have raised some concerns about the increased rate of inflation, with lockdown easing and more people willing to spend. Experts have also mentioned that it's hard to tell if the increasing rate will continue temporarily or be more long-term. In Victoria, BC, Vanessa Condi, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
The foreign ministers of Norway, Iceland, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Russia, Canada, and the United States gather in Reykjavik for the ministerial meeting of the Arctic Council. The 8 countries bordering the Arctic meet Thursday in Iceland to discuss peaceful cooperation in the region amid rising temperatures and tensions, in particular between Russia and the U.S. Accelerated global warming, untapped resources, and new maritime routes opened up by retreating sea ice, as well as the future of local populations, top the agenda for the foreign ministers gathered in Reykjavik. Canada, Denmark, through its autonomous territory Greenland, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russia, Sweden, and the U.S. meet every 2 years in the Arctic Council. With the departure of Donald Trump, who sparked agitation by proposing to buy Greenland in 2019, and repeated opposition to Russian and Chinese ambitions in the region, all eyes will now be on the line adopted by President Joe Biden's administration. Russia is meanwhile set to succeed Iceland as the rotating chair of the Arctic Council, a body which aims to foster dialogue at a time of increased military maneuvers in the region. On the eve of the Council's meeting, the new U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken met his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov for the first time, ahead of a possible summit between Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin in the near future. Coming up, Iglesia Ni Cristo donates blood in Calgary. Eagle News Canada continues after this.
Events happen around us all the time. In our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business.
Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration.
To update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders. To help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation,
social entrepreneurship,
and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News Canada. I am Cara Cabuso Pascual from St. John, New Brunswick. In Calgary, the Iglesia Ni Cristo organizes a community blood donation drive through its INC Giving Project. Eagle News correspondent Tiffany Alisasis for the report.
In this time of uncertainty, the world is always continuing to find the good in every situation. And we are always looking for ways to help many individuals around the world. We can do so by donating blood. Donating blood can help many individuals with different health conditions, such as those who have recovered from COVID-19. With proper protocols and regulations followed, members from the Church of Christ or Iglesia Ni Cristo continue to help in volunteering their time to help those in need. Through the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation and the INC Giving Project, launched by the church, these members were able to book an appointment with the Canadian Blood Services and donate throughout the month of May, and continue to do so on a regular basis. Donating blood means that someone, somewhere, will be getting the help they desperately need. Not only that, donating blood can also help you. It can reveal potential health problems, reduce harmful iron stores, lower your risk of a heart attack, keep your liver healthy, and many other benefits. Donors are needed every day. If you are eligible to donate, I suggest you go to your nearest blood donation center and you can help save someone's life. In Calgary, Canada, Tiffany Alisasis, we live in interesting times.
How excited are basketball fans in New York? The Knicks' first two playoff games are sold out at Madison Square Garden, and the excitement is about to begin against Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks. Eagle News correspondent Tenny Sumagi with the details.
The best sports story currently happening in the Big Apple are on the New York Knicks. The team is in the playoffs for the first time in 8 years, thanks to Coach Tom Thibodeau. The Coach of the Year nominee talks about the playoffs in the world's famous arena, plus why New York sports fans are the best.
It's a great sports town. As we know what basketball means to the city. And so hopefully we can give them something to be proud of. We got a special group of guys that have worked extremely hard all year long to put us into this position. And now now the challenge starts all over again. Yeah, we get great support. I think we have the greatest fans in the world here. They're passionate, and obviously the Garden is such a special place to, not only us, but everyone in the NBA. So it's very meaningful. My family's from Connecticut, so, a lot of fans there in Connecticut, New Jersey, that sort of thing. So, we want to make sure we're giving them everything we have.
Canadian sensation R.J. Barrett will make his postseason debut and talks about the difference between the NBA playoffs and the NCAA tournament during his collegiate years at Duke University.
The NCAA tournament is definitely, when I go home type feel. So you got to give everything, to that one game. Here, I would say you got to be a little more focused. Really learn a team. Really learn everything they do, everybody's tendencies. So I think there's a different level of focus and preparation you have to have.
Tune in to Eagle News for more on the NBA playoffs throughout the upcoming weeks. In New York, Tenny Sumagi, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
That's today's Eagle News Canada. Join us again next week as we bring stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I am Cara Cabuso Pascual. We live in interesting times.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced. Not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interview